Hello, everyone. Welcome to Black Nerds Matter. Today, we have the honor of welcoming a living legend. We have one in the building with us right here today, the incredible Dr. Don Wright, a true pioneer in ocean science, geographic information systems, and marine conservation. Known as Deep Sea Dawn, she's the chief scientist at ESRI, a world leader in GIS software and a professor of geography and oceanography at Oregon State University. Dr. Wright has a long list of accolades. She's an elected member of the National Academy of Science, the National Academy of Engineering, and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. In 1991, she made history as the first Black woman to dive at the deep ocean floor in a submersible vehicle. And in 2022, she broke barriers once again, becoming the first Black person to dive to the Challenger Deep, the deepest spot on Earth. Her groundbreaking work spans marine geology, ocean sustainability, spatial data science, and more. She's also an avid Star Wars fan, a Lego enthusiast, and a former Olympic hopeful. In this conversation, we'll discuss her incredible career, her new book, Mapping the Deep, and her impact as a trailblazer for Black scientists everywhere. Hey, Dr. Don, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thanks. And happy Black History Month too.
Yeah, happy Black History Month to you. So I'm so excited to have you on here. I've had so many people talk about you, how you've influenced their career, and they've seen you and want to do work because of the things you've done. So it's just an honor to have you here. Thank you for making time for Black Nerds Matter.
Oh my goodness, thank you. And that's really nice to hear. I usually just try to keep my head down and stay out of trouble and do my work to the best of my ability. So I'm glad that it's helping and inspiring people. There certainly are a lot of people out there inspiring me, including other Black nerds for sure. So thank you for having this podcast. You know, that the first time I heard about your podcast was at the Black and Marine Science Conference, which was just an amazing event, and so many amazing connections were made. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was like, I heard you were going to be there. I was like, I'm going to track you down. I can't wait I want to get her on the show. And then I found you. You're like, oh, I already signed up. And I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need to happen. I was like, you did the
that
work before me. So I'm like, this is good.
that Huva app, or Wova, or I guess it's Huva app, was really effective.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. I was like, I need to, every conference I'm at now to have it because I think it's helped me a ton with this, even organizing, new people and everything and getting you here. So this is wonderful.
Great.
All right, so I know you've had an incredible career from diving to the deepest part of the ocean, becoming a leader in GIS. What sparked your passion for ocean science?
Well, I grew up in the Hawaiian Islands, so that will do it. And and I am the same age as President Obama. So that can give you some context. He was growing up on the island of Oahu, and I was on the island of Maui. And I think when you grow up in and around water, it's really hard not to be inspired, not to really fall in love with the ocean. And I think a theme in our discussion will be falling in love with the ocean. That's really the key. And you don't necessarily have to live near the ocean to fall in love with it. But for me, being at the beach and being in and around the water all the time, and then you combine that with Jacques Cousteau being on TV every Sunday night. This was in the 1960s. And that program showed me other parts of the ocean. And then I also became really enamored of mapping. The true power of mapping actually hit me as a little girl while I was doing my summer book reading. And when I was 8 years old, I was completely enthralled with Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. And one of the central anchors of that story is Captain Flint's treasure map. And the irony is that as you read the book or watch the movie, the Disney movie, the details of the map are never revealed in the story, but it's just the notion of the map's existence, what it could lead to. That drives Long John Silver and others to the point of obsession. And to me, that was very powerful. And I think for a lot of us, that's what science is. It's a map. It's a map to truth, or to answers at least. And it drives a lot of us in terms of our life's work. So that's what happened to me.
That's really cool. I've never heard of anyone being inspired by to do what they do from Treasure Island. Like obviously, with having a lot of marine scientists on here, they're usually talking about the Little Mermaid or Nemo, but hearing Treasure Island's a new one. I'm really excited to hear about that. That was really cool. So I have some questions, especially about growing up in Hawaii. So what was it like being a black person in Hawaii, and also how long in your life did you spend there?
Yeah, that it's an interesting story in terms of being a black person in Hawaii. And my experience, I think there are parallels with President Obama's. For us, we were the first black family to show up on the island of Maui. So I did not grow up in the black community, and at first it was very difficult because Hawaii, for all of its notoriety for being a warm and welcoming place, the idea of aloha spirit and all of these different ethnic groups there. There's also there can be racism anywhere, and there was racism in Hawaii in the '60s. My mother used to say that the local people, they were looking at the news on TV, they were looking at the Watts riots, they were seeing all of the civil rights unrest, and then when we showed up, they were like, "Oh, so they are part of that." And
Wow.
we did have some difficulties. I was bullied in school, but this was really only part of our experience for the early part of our time in Hawaii. The the other thing that's ironic is that physically in this country we are so obsessed with skin color, with maybe even the way that you look in terms of the broadness of your features. Certainly for us as Black people, we stand out immediately. But in Hawaii, I often passed as someone from Samoa, and
Wow.
for some reason, people thought that my mother was from Tonga. I don't know what they thought of my dad. My dad had more strictly African features, so he might have been mistaken for someone from Fiji. But everyone took him for being black, a black man, uh, a proud black man, which was great. But that actually helped me in terms of being more accepted. I was around a lot of other colored people. I grew up with kids who were all kinds of mixtures because in Hawaii that is celebrated. In fact, I remember on the playground in elementary school, the way that kids introduced themselves if they were new, like if you were meeting someone from a different class, or if someone was new to the school, they would introduce themselves in terms of their ethnicity. They would say,
Wow.
"Hi, I'm Kimo. I am part Chinese, I'm part Hawaiian, and I'm part Portuguese." Or whatever their background was, they would roll through all of those ethnicities. And I never knew really quite how to say what I was, because I was a little afraid at first. But after a while, I used to just introduce myself as an American Negro. That's also something that's really different, the way that we have referred to ourselves throughout American history. And in the '60s, my mother had me reading a lot of books, historical books, and reading W.E.B. Du Bois mostly. And there was this concept, a very proud concept of the American Negro. It's not someone, we're not from Africa, we're not completely from Africa, and we are part of the mixtures. Part of it tragic because of slavery, but we are often mixtures of European, Native American, African. We are all mixed in, and that's what makes us distinctly American. So I used to introduce myself that way, and also say that I was part Indian, because we thought for sure that there was indigenous, some indigenous background in our family. But it turns out now I've had a DNA test in recent years, and I don't have I don't have American in. Well, I have, it's at 2%, but my ethnicity is apparently West African, 60% West African, and 30% European, mostly French, a little bit of British and Irish. Anyway, I bring that up because I ended up growing up and absorbing the cultures of kids who were from had Japanese background, Chinese, Filipino, Portuguese, uh, and some who were part Native Hawaiian. And I very much wanted to go to Kamehameha School because in Hawaii, if you are 1/16th Hawaiian or more, then you can apply to and go to Kamehameha School, where it's a very good private school, but they also teach you Hawaiian language and culture. We had a little bit of that in the public school, but so I think it was a very, very nice way to grow up, very powerful way to grow up. But in order to reclaim or to keep my blackness, I read books, and I did a lot of reading of the classic works in Black literature, Malcolm X, again W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King. We were all riveted by his persona and his writings. Yeah, but Hawaii, I think, will always be a place that's very special to me, and a place that I call home again, similar to President Obama. I like making the parallels to him. I like the fact that we are the same age when he ran for office, and we found out about him and about his background. That was something that was really special that I feel connected to him by. I really hope I get to meet. Well, who does not want to meet Barack or Michelle Obama? Who does not have that on their bucket list?
That's awesome. I love hearing about the different, like the diaspora and different spreading out of Black people, especially with, one thing I had talked about, especially with other guests and people in my life about, you're a Black American, and there's like Black people from the Caribbean, there's Black people from Africa, and
Hmm.
all those different groups can have different cultures based on what they grew up with. I mean, how you were talking about originally believing that you were part Indian. I thought the same thing for myself, that I was part Native American, and I ended up doing a DNA test too, and I found out that I was 75%. It was like sub-Saharan African, 25% white, and like all British. And that was crazy for me because for the longest time, my family believed that we were Choctaw Indian, all these different kind of things. And
Yeah.
it's cool to see other people have that similar experience, and it's not just me. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and I think it's important. I think maybe if people talk about or watch Skip Gates's TV Finding Your Roots on PBS, I think a lot of us wish that we could have that really intensive historical DNA work done for our families. And I think on his show now, he does choose people who are not famous, and he delves into their background and reveals their family tree to them in ways that he does for the celebrities. But it really is something for our people. I think a lot of us can't trace our lineage back past maybe our well, in my family, I really don't know very much earlier than my great grandmother. And on my father's side,
Hmm.
I have no idea anyone beyond or earlier than my grandparents on that side. I have no idea. I don't even know quite where to start. But I think for a lot of us, that is really, really important for us because it's the story of America. All of us have our family backgrounds that are really, in fact, that's what Skip Gates does on his show. Is that he is revealing American history through slavery and through migration, through all kinds of atrocities and through all kinds of triumphs. It's all there, and it's in all of our families.
So what prompted your family to move to Hawaii? So you were like the first Black family on the island you were living. How did that happen?
Yes, that was due to my mother. My mother's adventurous spirit. My mother's side of the family is from Baltimore, and my father's side is from Charleston, South Carolina. When my parents got together, at the time, my father was an aspiring NBA player. He was given a tryout by the Detroit Pistons, but that didn't work out. And he basically pivoted to teaching, and he was a high school teacher, mainly a high school basketball coach. So he pivoted from playing into coaching. And it was easier for him to get coaching positions in public schools wherever we went. He followed my mother's career moves, and she was an instructor, community college instructor. She had been teaching for quite some time before she met him. But in the early 60s, it was just trying to find a way, trying to find work. And she found a teaching post in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, in Canada for 1 year. So when I was 5, we were in Canada. And then she got a really big break where she got this teaching role at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And so we moved to Hawaii when I was 6. And my mother and I were in Hawaii for 10 years. My father left us when I was 11. And so basically my family story is myself and my mother, because I don't have any brothers or sisters. So that's how we got to Hawaii. And she did so well teaching at the university that they asked her to move to Maui and to start an entire department of speech communication. So she got this opportunity to go to Maui and to start the speech communication program at Maui Community College. Now, my father at that time, he was playing semi-professional basketball and he was coaching. So he kind of followed her moves and was with us on Oahu and then was with us on Maui. But things kind of fell apart with their marriage, unfortunately, and he left Maui and went back to the East Coast. But it was my mother and I on Maui, and so I went through the public school system on Maui, and I'm so thankful for it. I think a lot of us, there are concerns about public schools now and about charter schools and all kinds of different schools, homeschooling that you can that for children. I don't have any children, but of course I hear all of the issues and I'm concerned about that, especially as a scientist, and I speak to children quite a bit. But the public school system in Hawaii was excellent, and I was so thankful, and very huge emphasis on science and on reading, a lot of reading. And so I went through elementary, middle school, and at the beginning of high school, we moved back to the East Coast because of my grandmother's illness. And so I finished high school in Columbia, Maryland, and then from there went on to college and eventually made my way back to the West Coast. So here I am in California.
That's awesome. I was really happy to hear about your story, and thank you for sharing all those different things, because I have a background where I moved around a ton, and it's cool seeing people who have all these different homes in different places. Like, yeah, I grew up here, but I like this place as well. And I like this place as well. And it's just really cool because I feel like a lot of people have those experiences. They don't necessarily have a hometown, they just have a lot of places that feel like home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's really important. It's really important to have these places where you have roots, where you have really good friends, where you have family connections, or where you have really formative experiences, and you keep that with you. I think especially now with what our country is going through, you've got to keep that
Mhm.
base, keep that foundation with you for sure.
So I want to talk a bit about your book, Mapping the Deep. I see it's gotten awards, one of the top ocean books of 2024. What inspired you to write it, and what do you hope readers take away from it?
Well, I really had nothing to do with it. And I say that because I came back from the Challenger deep dive and there was a lot of excitement about that. And we had used Esri technology, and it was just a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful thing. But it was a special project for me at Esri. And when I got back from the dive, I had to pivot back to my work as chief scientist. And I do my work at Esri is in the research and development area, and a lot of travel to other institutions and conferences and speaking and working with collaborators who want to do research with us. So but as a software company, we also have a press, and it's called Esri Press. And it started off as the publishing arm for our documentation. for our tutorial books and for the big series of books that we used to ship with our software. But over the years, it has evolved into quite a lovely little independent press that publishes atlases, publishes research books about mapping and spatial analysis. And it's starting now to move into the trade book area in terms of publishing biographies and publishing people's stories and that sort of reading. And so the Esri Press people came to me and asked about doing a book with me about the dive. And so it was really their idea. And they also asked me if they could do it collaboratively, where they would draw from my writings and my interviews and my working with them, but do quite a bit of the writing, turn that into a book, because I really had no time to sit down and actually write a book about about the experience, or to write a book at that time. I've done a lot of books with Esri, but so it was the staff of Esri Press that came up with the idea, and they were inspired, and so that's why the book cover has my name, but it also says, very importantly, with Esri Press. So they worked with me very closely and put the book together, and we also thought about expanding the narrative of the book to go beyond just the Challenger deep dive, because one of the things that the Challenger deep dive was supposed to accomplish was to let people know the importance of mapping anywhere in the ocean, and to let people know that this is an area that we do not have a handle on. We we do not know about our own planet the way that we would like. And there are also many, many new techniques that are coming to the fore that people should know about, that we use to map the ocean. So that's why the book is called Mapping the Deep, because it takes this arc where it starts it begins with the Challenger deep dive, which people are really interested in, and the scientific particulars of the dive, but it broadens out to the story of the 5 deeps, which is really where my dive sort of fits in as the next chapter after the 5 deeps, because I wouldn't have been able to do this dive without Caladan Oceanic and Victor Vescovo, who is the explorer and the financer of the whole 5 deeps expedition, where he took a specially designed submersible and went to the 5 deepest places in the world ocean. And so that's a story in and of itself. That story has been told in other books, but we tell that story as well. And then we broaden that out even further to a little bit of a history of diving in the ocean, including some stories that are pretty harrowing, including how someone almost died in a submersible. Then we take the arc further to talk about other women explorers, and mapping. Then we go back to my dive and the more personal aspects of my dive, and the personal impressions, and then ending with various topics in terms of why do we do this? Why do we map the ocean? Why it's important to do so? And then there's a specific call to action for readers at the end, if they want to be not just to get into this type of work, but to support this type of work and to be knowledgeable about our planet.
It's so cool. That stuff is so cool. I had recently, the only time I had heard about deep sea mapping, I was working for OceanX this summer, and they were showing us how important it was and the different tools they used. And going through what I went through in college, being a marine scientist, I was doing mostly biological stuff. So to see that like geological aspect and learning about tectonic plates, and even just
Mm-hmm.
how much of the ocean hasn't been mapped, and how they're trying to get like 90% mapped by in the next like 20 years or whatever. It was like, it was crazy to see that and to know how much truly hadn't been discovered.
Oh, yes. And I'm so glad you had an experience with OceanX, because they are one of the fantastic institutions out there that is making huge strides in helping us to reach all of these goals in terms of mapping the deep ocean. And they have it all. They have the wonderful ship. as you know, and they have remotely operated vehicles and the submersible, and they've started to work with us at Esri in terms of storytelling from their mapping and using our technology. And I've had a chance to meet several of their staff, including their CEO, Vincent Parabone, and I were in Cabo Verde, Africa, with the U.S. State
Wow.
Department in October. We were part of a delegation to look at the blue and green economy of Cabo Verde and to see what we could do to forge partnerships and to help with their businesses and nonprofits. And Vincent is taking the ship back to Cabo Verde, I believe later this year or in 2026, along those lines.
So what's blue and green economy, if you can share?
Oh, what we call the green economy now is really talking about clean energy, greening of the economy in terms of our transportation, our shipping, the whole environmental, social governance, or ESG movement that's happening now in terms of being green and sustainable with our economy. And a lot of that has to do with using cleaner alternative energy resources, pivoting our economy from a fossil fuels based economy to one that is based on land based solar energy, land based wind energy, and other forms of cleaner energy, and how our whole economy will hopefully run that way. If you take that offshore, that's the blue economy. So if we think about energy, we have wind energy that we derive from offshore wind turbines, and there's energy from tides, energy from waves, wave buoys. My colleagues at Oregon State University are leaders in that area in developing wave energy. And then there's the whole part of our global economy that is offshore, our ports, our shipping, the seafood industry. All of that is anything that we extract or that we use from the ocean for our economy. That's the blue economy, and the idea of making that as sustainable as possible is really, really huge for agencies such as NOAA, for instance. NOAA has been really pushing the whole blue economy perspective, especially given the importance of that agency. And data and mapping are part of that economy as well. A big thing that we do at Esri is that we provide the software, of course, and the workflows for siting of these various, where is the best place to site a wind turbine offshore? Where are the best places to balance the offshore energy, the many uses of the ocean for this economy, along with protecting it? So where would you site a marine protected area in the midst of all of this, and what sorts of uses would you allow in that marine protected area? So this is something that we hope we can keep going with, despite the setbacks that we are facing right now with our current administration.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that ties into that, because I even have friends who are in governmental jobs, like when it concerning the environment. They're like having holds on their work and different things like that. So I can definitely understand from that
Yeah.
perspective. So we've been talking a lot about blue this, blue that, the ocean. I want to know what it was like for you to go to the bottom of the ocean and how the sub was. Do you have any favorite sub snacks, things you like to do while you're inside the submarine? I want to know it all.
Yeah. Well,
Wait, excuse me. Your mic cut off.
oh, sorry about that. I think I hit my mute button by mistake. So there's a lot certainly that I could tell you, which would significantly lengthen your podcast. But the Mapping the Deep has all of the gory details, and it's also in an audio version. One of the things that I love is always the beginning of a dive, and when you're in a submersible and you're going through the different zones of the ocean, the euphotic zone, the twilight zone, into the abyssal zone and the hadal zone. It's always fascinating to me when you are approaching the twilight zone and the blue of the ocean shifts to gray and then to complete darkness, and you're in that inner space. And I think on all of the dives that I've done, including the Challenger deep dive, there was bioluminescence once we got into the twilight zone, it is just so wondrous and jaw-dropping to see these little creatures with their blue-green light flashing. I think we saw some jellyfish and some siphonophores. In fact, Victor Vescovo, as the pilot on our dive, flashed his lights and tried to communicate with some of these creatures, and they flashed their little lights back.
Wow.
It's always and that in a way might be similar to the effect that astronauts feel in space, because they're in space, they're seeing the stars, but they're also seeing our planet, and they see the totality of our planet. They call it the overview effect, I think. When you're in the ocean, I think of it as the underview effect. You're not seeing the entirety of the planet, but you're seeing micro worlds, it's almost like being on a microplanet. And as you're in this dark and beautiful environment, and once you get to the seafloor, to me, it's incredibly humbling, because it's very hostile, it's very alien. At the same time, it is absolutely beautiful. It's jaw-dropping. So for me, I get the sense of being both significant in terms of being to these places, visiting these places for the first time, but also somewhat insignificant, because you realize that you're just one small part of the planet. And that's different from being up in space, where you see this broad synoptic view. And in the submersible, it's a little different, because you're in this deep, dark place. But for me as a geologist, to see evidence of the tectonic activity, these tremendous, huge plates that collide. In the case of Challenger Deep, it's the Pacific Plate colliding with the Philippine Sea Plate. And I love seeing the collision zone with all of the huge fields of boulders, as we were right there in the trench axis. And we saw life at 10,919 meters with that crushing pressure of 16,000 pounds per square inch. We saw little anemones and sea cucumbers and little amphipods, all living in complete darkness. And so that might be a little bit of an overview effect, because that is a different world. It's like a different planet. And you're seeing that. You have somewhat of an overview effect from your submersible, where you're sitting there and this is going on right in front of you. But the main thing that hit me was just being a part of the totality of life on this planet, and what a miracle that is, and how somehow we're all connected. And it's always a joy being in a submersible dive. For me, being in Challenger Deep, it was mind blowing, but I would say that I don't want to say it was routine, because I've been in submersible dives before, and this one just happened to be deeper, and it took us longer to get there, and it was a different type of environment, because I'm a mid-ocean ridge person, so I'm used to hydrothermal vent scenarios, and it's quieter. It's a bit quieter in a deep trench, but it's still amazing. And it still means to me that it all matters. We all matter, and everything that we can do to reverse the effects of climate change and the destructiveness and the hatred in our lives and our societies. Anything that we can do to stop that is part of the most important work we can be doing right now.
That's that's so cool. I mean, that's like one of my dreams, is to be inside of a submarine and go down. I mean, one of my mentors, Cindy Bandover, she talks to me
Oh
a
my
ton about
goodness. She is the legend. Yeah.
Yeah, I love her, and we talk about Alvin. She tells me about different things. It's like, oh, I'll see you in there one day, and I'm like, I want to do it so bad. Like, I even have a little Alvin keychain and everything. Let me see, like, I got it right here on my keys, right
Oh,
here,
that's fantastic.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, my goodness, you must get an Alvin dive at some point. When I first met Cindy, she was on her postdoc, the coolest postdoc ever, as an Alvin pilot. And she took my advisor down, and Rachel Heyman and Karen Von Dam. Cindy took them down in a dive on the East Pacific Rise, and those three became the first three, with the first all-female uh, team within Alvin. And I think only recently Woods Hole has hired a female pilot. So for the longest time, Cindy has been the only female pilot of Alvin. And all of the things that she has discovered, all of the inspiration that she has given to so many of us is just absolutely unbelievable. And I don't think enough people know about her. She should have her own film, her own documentary film. She should be all over PBS. My goodness, we could do the rest of the podcast about Cindy.
Yeah, I just thought it was really cool when you had told me that you knew her, because I was like, oh, that's awesome. I know her too, and she's one of my favorite people. But yeah, I have some more questions about what about the sub. So how many different expeditions have you gone on subs? And this is kind of a selfish question, but how does someone go about getting on a sub and doing a submersible dive?
Oh well, the with Alvin, the ticket, so to speak, is being on an NSF grant where you have proposed a scientific question that you want to answer with Alvin. And I had the good fortune of joining a lab at UC Santa Barbara with Rachel Heyman and Ken McDonald. They were both using the Alvin, especially Rachel, and she was trying to uncover the dynamics in terms of geology, chemistry, biology, and physics of the East Pacific Rise at 9 North. And I ended up as a graduate student in her lab or with her group at that tremendously important time in the early 90s. And she gave me an Alvin dive. So normally on these research cruises that are focused on Alvin, there you may have over the course of a month at sea opportunities for 20 or 25 dives. And the scientific party that has come up with the research questions and the what's going to happen on that particular cruise together, they get dives in order to answer their part of the to write their part of the story. And I really have always appreciated Rachel for this, because the graduate students who were helping her, she made sure that we got a dive too. The work that was happening there, that ended up being my PhD dissertation. So it was really special for me to get a dive. And then later on, I was able to get some funding from NOAA to do my own scientific investigations around American Samoa. And so we were using the Pisces 5 submersibles for that from the Hawaii Undersea Research Lab. That program is no longer in action. It sadly ran out of funding and is no longer existing. So that's the normal way that you would get a submersible dive. And really, Alvin is your only pathway in that traditional scientific way. Now, with the limiting factor, which is now called something different, because the limiting factor, that's all private. It's all privately owned. It was designed and built for Victor Vescovo's 5 Deeps expeditions. He paid for everything. His operation is sort of like a SpaceX or a Blue Origin, or any of these private types of ventures for the purpose of science. And that was completely different, where Victor just handpicked who he wanted to accompany him on his next series of dives after he had completed the 5 deeps on his own. He wanted to, essentially with the 5 deeps, going to the deepest place in the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, and the Southern Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. He wanted to do those on his own because he was essentially serving as a test pilot. Humans had never been to those places. We didn't really have even the bathymetric data to know the number, like what is the deepest place, what is that depth. And his Caladan Oceanic team was doing all of that in that time, 2018 to 2019. But after he completed that and was looking to sell the whole operation and do something else, in that interim time, he decided to finally bring other people with him. And so he handpicked people that he wanted to have accompany him, and I was just really, really fortunate to be one of those.
Wow. That's so cool. It's just one of my dreams. I really want to do it at some point. Like I've been inside subs and like without being underwater and just seeing the different control, different way it works. Like I've seen some that almost have like video game controllers as the as the thing to go down and up. It's super cool to just see an action. I don't think I just feel like so many people have never seen that, and you hear about it, or maybe if you're in the Navy or something like that, but just to see it is just so awe-inspiring, and I loved every moment of it.
Well, I think now they're with Ocean X, and speaking of them, or with Rev Ocean, these other organizations now where they have submersibles that they are they're made for shallower depths, but still the experience is absolutely mind-blowing. You don't have to go all the way to Challenger Deep, but I hope you'll have the opportunity maybe to dive with Ocean X, or maybe with Rev Ocean. Rev Ocean is based in Norway, I believe. They're working on a brand new huge research vessel. Schmidt Ocean Institute is another fantastic organization. They have a remotely operated vehicle. I don't believe they have a submersible, but there are other submersibles that Triton submarines makes for various purposes, including for tourist diving, submersible diving, and there's also Deep Ocean Exploration Research in Alameda, California. That's Liz Taylor is the CEO of that wonderful company. That company was founded by her mother, Sylvia Earle, and they specialize in submersibles. So
Cool.
these are companies or organizations that you can look into to see how you can get underwater.
Yeah. I know I definitely will be. I'll definitely be asking you more about it afterwards. But that thank you so much for that information. So we talked a bit about Esri, UC Santa Barbara, Oregon. What are some of your favorite institutions that you've worked for, and what are some of the most challenging and most fun expeditions you've been on with the different institutions you've been with?
Well, that's a really good question, because I went to school at UC Santa Barbara, and that's where my first Alvin dive took place. So that is always incredibly special when you do the first of anything. And I will always remember those days as a graduate student. You know, our days as graduate students are super, super special. Graduate students are postdocs, and you make friends for the rest of your life. You go through your academic lives with those friends or lab mates that are in your life during that time. So that's definitely a favorite for me. Then I went on to Oregon State University, and I spent all of my academic career at Oregon State. So I didn't jump around to other places. I spent 17 years at Oregon State, and that's when the American Samoa experience took place in terms of doing that work. and that was also special. It was a lot shallower because we were mapping around American Samoa and doing some of the first bathymetric mapping around that territory, especially to help with Seabed 2030 and to help with Sylvia Earle's Sustainable Seas expeditions, and also with NOAA's ocean exploration work, with their mapping work. And then there's been Esri. Esri has been fantastic, but very, very different, because it's been an academic job within a private software company. And so I haven't, I thought I had given up going to sea once I joined Esri, but then here comes this mind-blowing experience with Victor Vescovo and Caladan Oceanic, and doing the dooziest of all dives. So you just never know. So it's really hard to rank them all, because they have been special in their own way. So I guess I've given you the best from each organization.
It's almost like having kids or pets and having to name your favorite kid or pets.
Yeah,
Like I love them all. I
exactly.
love them all equally. They're all really important to me. I like this one a lot, but this one does this other
Yeah.
thing. It's so we've gotten really deep into the science. I mean, literally and figuratively, it's been awesome hearing about that. But I want to hear more about you and your personal life. Black Nerds Matter. We love to highlight the nerdiness in our guests and especially in ourselves. What makes you a nerd? I already know a little bit about your rebel your rebel bracelet that you had on at BIMS week, but I want to hear more about that.
Well, this is really a good point, because I have been caught up in the discussions with others about what makes you a nerd and what makes you a geek, and are
Well,
they the
really?
same thing? And I would say that I'm very happy to be classified as both. Sort of like people who are on the Big Bang Theory, those physicists.
Uh-huh.
And then Mayim Bialik, who plays Amy on that show, she actually has a PhD in neuroscience, and she sort of, I think, set the record straight as a neuroscientist on the important differences between being a nerd and a geek. So the nerdy part for me is doing the science, and being a nerd, you're focused on your science, on acquiring knowledge. It's more of a general academic term. But the Star Wars stuff, and I'm wearing SpongeBob earrings, that's, to me, that's geekdom. That is being an enthusiast, being like a collector or a hobbyist or a gamer, and you know all kinds of facts, and you have all kinds of mementos that are related to that passion, to that hobby. So that's and I don't know if your podcast, well, it's a podcast, but we're doing the video, and so behind me are all of the Lego models. That is part of the geekiness in my life. And I love building with Lego. I love the Lego Star Wars and the Lego pirate ship collections, a little bit of Lego Harry Potter. Uh, in terms of Star Wars, I'm drawing a lot of inspiration and strength from the Star Wars universe as well as the Marvel universe. When Black Panther came out, ate that up. I think a lot of us were just so inspired and so happy to have that added to the Marvel universe, and have Marvel Studios do such outstanding movies. Uh, the whole vision of a Pan African Wakanda forever, how that was all laid out, and the scientific knowledge that Shuri had, and how she could engineer and create. She's smarter than Tony Stark. That kind of those kinds of details to latch onto That's part of what I really enjoy.
So what are some of your favorite Star Wars adaptations or even MCU? Because for me, I love the MCU and but X-Men and like Spider-Man is my favorite stuff. Like I got my couple of heroes that I love in my
Mhm.
and even like in Star Wars, like I love Lando. He's just so cool and so like swagged out and Mace Windu. Like of course the black characters are easier for me to love, but there's just so many different characters I
Yeah.
love in both of those fandoms.
Yeah, I really I love Finn in the final three uh, parts of the Star Wars universe. But Rey, I just really uh, love her character. And in terms of droids, I am just over the moon. I love BB-8. I am absolutely
But me too.
out of control in love with BB-8. And BB-8 reminds me of my dog who is sleeping behind me, my golden retriever. There are a lot of cool droids in the Star Wars universe. K2SO in oh gosh, what was he in? Rogue um, Rogue One. I get pushback because Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars film. It's not The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back is is a classic. It's fabulous. It is, yes, it is what it is. But for me, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, Star Wars story. And as a result of that, Andor, which leads you up to Rogue One, is also a favorite of mine. And I love K2SO in that.
It's I love enjoy like the nerdy part of it because for me the biggest thing was I love like animated shows and video games and Star Wars. Like I watched all that kind of stuff with my dad and now like with my friends and my little brothers. So it's always been something that I realize the people that I'm close to in life either share those passions or enjoy those things or are willing to see my
Yeah.
perspective and how much I love those things because it's just so much of that you can fall in love with. And I think just when you have a whole group of people who are nerds about something, and you see like some cool character come on screen, everybody's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they showed up!" All that, like even like an Endgame and all that stuff like that. I think those are the most fun and enjoyable moments as a fan.
Oh, absolutely. I should say Star Wars Skeleton Crew is now my favorite too, especially Neil. the the little elephant boy in Skeleton Crew. I just absolutely am in love with Neil. And it's because he's so kind and loyal. Another thing that is really cool that has happened to me is that I work with the Science and Entertainment Exchange of the National Academy of Sciences, and oh, I have the book here, one of the books. Um, what the Science and Entertainment Exchange does is it reaches out to scientists to consult with Marvel and with uh, anything really that's happening in the entertainment industry. I'm not as famous as Clifford Johnson. This is Clifford Johnson's book, The Dialogues. He
Sweet.
is a physicist at USC, and this is he wrote and illustrated this entire thing, dialogues, conversations about the nature of the universe, and he regularly. In fact, I met him at Comic-Con and he signed my book. I was such a fangirl.
Ooh.
But he regularly consults with MCU, with Marvel Studios on their films, especially where things like time travel are going to be portrayed. Uh, I think his name is in the credits for some of those films. They've asked me to consult on much smaller projects, like maybe for a screenplay that's in development where there's going to be a sea level rise is going to be part of the plot, or someone is doing a show on off Broadway and they want to depict something that has to do with the coast or the ocean. Sometimes I'll get a call, but that's a really cool gig. We do it for free, of course, but there's a database of us scientists who can give advice to Hollywood. So
Oh, that's I mean that's cool. It just makes me think about the applications of I mean even scientists going out one day and being movie stars or just be doing all the different parts of it. Like that's so cool. I didn't know that some of my favorite people in science were connected to some of my favorite projects in fiction. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe, and some scientists have gotten to do cameo appearances in some of these films. So, wow. I wouldn't mind being an Aquaman, that's for sure. I wouldn't mind helping Jason Momoa out, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So we I talked about earlier. A bunch of people that have come on here have talked about how much you've inspired them and everything. I mean, I'm even more inspired right now, even more than when you were doing your keynote speech at Black in Marine Science. But I'm wondering what kind of advice would you have for people pursuing a career in ocean science? I know for me personally, I'm looking to do stuff with trophic dynamics. I'm also very interested in deep sea stuff, parasitology, all these different things. What kind of advice would you give to somebody like me who's looking to the next steps, whether it's PhD or science and just in general?
Yeah, that is it's so important not to disconnect your science from your story. The fact that you love Star Wars and that you love the MCU, that is something to keep in. Do not abandon that. So, in terms of our nerdiness, don't abandon the geeky part of it, because that is what makes you. That's what keeps you nourished. In part, of course, there are human relationships and all of these fantastic parts of living that keep us nourished. But the geek part of being a nerd, I think, is really, really important, and it helps us to not lose hope. It helps us to stay happy. It makes us interesting, and I think it's one of the things that is really, really important to hang on to. There's also the idea of being of having stamina. Sometimes it takes a while to get through a program. Sometimes it takes a while to reach your career goal. It might take you a while to get the postdoc that you want, or the position that you want. And we just cannot give up. And we have to be. You must be surrounded. You have to. What I'm trying to say is to get into community. Basically, it is so important to be in community. So this is why the Black and Marine Science Week, that event was so powerful and so important, and was more than just people sharing their science or people sharing the inspiring work that they were doing. The yoga, the
Hmm.
self-care discussions, the mental health discussions that go on within that community or communities like that. I'm also in Black Women in Ecology, Evolution, and Marine Science, BWEAMS. That is so important. Whatever little community, the wonderful thing about BIMS or BWEAMS or minorities and shark sciences or
Hmm.
these other organizations, is that the online community is so vibrant, and you feel as though you're in community even though you're not spending face-to-face time with a lot of those people. And then you can go to an event like BIM's week, and everything just explodes because you are there with your people, and you've got the most amazing week that to nourish you and to sustain you until you get
Hmm.
to another event. So that is a huge piece of advice, and I think it's important for all of us now with what's happening in this country. We have to get into community as our democracy is at stake, as DEI is being denigrated and pushed back on. We need our community, whatever that is. So yeah, I think I'll stop there.
I thank you so much. I'm really glad that you're here. And if you have time for some more questions, I have a couple more that I love to answer. I just want to be very conscientious of your time.
Yeah, well, I do have another meeting that's coming up, so I think I can do one more question.
Okay, one more. This is my last one.
Okay.
We talked a bit about ocean mapping and storytelling, and I'm really big on communication. As you see, I'm doing science communication right here. How do you think best we can show the work we've done to our community, like with Black and Marine Science, and engage in good ways with the public?
Wow. Well, I think one thing that we can do is to be comfortable with sharing ourselves, sharing our story, just as you've had me do in terms of the geeky parts of my life or the personal parts of my life. If we can get comfortable sharing that, that can be very powerful as it's turned into a technology. So what I'm trying to say is, as you share more of your own story, uh, that's critical to the storytelling that you might use, for instance, in a presentation or in a story map. That's one of the things that we work on very hard at Esri. Some way that you can tell stories about the important connections that you make as a scientist or as a resource manager or as a policymaker. You tell a story about a particular project or a particular topic with a map and with videos and with text and with multimedia. Uh, and that multilingual, I'll say, because a map is a kind of language. It's a map is something that can reach anyone, anywhere. As you combine all these different things together to make sure that you have your own personal story in there, I think is really, really important. There's a caveat there because some of us aren't as comfortable telling our stories, but I
Hmm.
think the more comfort that we have, the more that we can get personal. My generation of scientists was trained not to do that. Just give the numbers, just be objective, just give the hypothesis, the methods, the results, and the conclusion. And the connection to the person, or even the connection to how this matters outside, how this is use inspired, how people will use this besides just ending up in a journal article. That part, I think, is hugely important, and scientists of my generation are learning to break away from those old ways. But for those of you you are in the moment, this is your time, and you're used to sharing yourselves on social media and in all kinds of different ways. I think that that's really important not to shy away from, especially for Black people, especially for us.
All right. Thank you so much for giving us a little extra time. It was just so wonderful talking to you. I'd love to be able to get you on another time, even for a part two, because there's so many more things I want to ask, and you're just a great guest. Thank you so much. It's just happy to have a legend here in the building with us.
Well, thank you, Dietrich. And I'm just someone who works hard and stays out of trouble and loves Star Wars and Legos.
That's why
Thank
we
you.
love you, because you're so humble about it. That was the best. All right, everyone. This was Dr. Don Wright, one of my favorite people in marine science. You can support the show by subscribing, following us on Instagram and on Spotify, and checking out this episode whenever it comes out. We have shirts like this for sale. Can't wait for all you to check them out. Thank you so much. Black Nerds Matter, out.